Hello everyone and welcome to the first video of Big 3 Sports. So what this channel is, a little introduction before I actually get on to talking about this. Me and my two friends Caden and RJ have made this sports channel where we talk about sports, and specifically three sports. So these are the big three sports I'm talking about: baseball, basketball, and football. We all have certain strengths within those three sports. I'm more of the baseball guy, RJ's more of the football guy, and Caden knows lots of everything. RJ's also good basketball. I'm a bit better with the basketball too. So covering MLB, NFL, and NBA basketball. Maybe go into other stuff, but I'm not really sure. But for now, we have the MLB rotation rankings in the first half of 2024. It's basically a podcast channel. We talk about different things, but you never know. There might be some different, interesting videos, comparisons between players, stuff like that. That's what this podcast is all about. Caden and Archie are not in this video. This is just me. My name is George, and I'm going to be doing this podcast. So here we go. So I'm counting down from 30. What I did is I took 5 pitchers from each MLB team. I took the stats for their win-loss ratio, ERA, WHIP, strikeout total, and walk total. And then after I got all those, I made an average for the team. That's what you're going to see. If you see a star by one of the players' names, they were an all-star this year, so congratulations to them. That's pretty interesting. Okay, number 30. The Colorado Rockies. I think, looking at their pitching, I think they definitely have one of the lower ones. In my opinion, and I did do a lot of research for this, I think the Colorado Rockies have the worst pitching team. Cal Quantrill is probably their best pitcher. He has a 6-7 record with 39 walks, 78 Ks, a 4.13 ERA, and a 1.35 WHIP. Which that's actually that's not bad. But no one has anything lower than 4.13 ERA. And when you look at other teams, that's just not really the case. The Colorado Rockies having a bit of a tough time here. Quantrill, Feltner, and Gomber. I know those three, and they're pretty decent pitchers. I think Quantrill's probably the best pitcher there, and Feltner, he 5.36 ERA, but he has 91 Ks, easily the most on the team. So that's what to see with the Colorado Rockies. You can see their average down here. If you want to look at those stats, that's always good to see. It's going to compare things. The Oakland Athletics are number 29. I think this is a good place to put them because, Oakland Athletics they're one of the worst. They're one of the lower teams in the league. We look at that for this year, and they just have a bit of a tough time. Their best pitcher, I think, would probably be J.P. Sears. He has 76 Ks, 4.56 ERA, and a 1.26 WHIP. But overall, when I look at this, I think that they are just a little bit better than the Rockies with their pitchers. Paul Blackburn's a great pitcher, though I'm pretty sure he's injured. But Blackburn's a good pitcher. J.P. Sears is, I'd say he's a good pitcher. Just not that much talent, as you can see. We have not seen any All-Stars yet, and with the pitching. Number 28 is the Los Angeles Angels. They do have an all-star, Tyler Anderson. That's great. Anderson is 8-8, 2.97 ERA with 47 walks, 81 Ks. That's something good to see. I think Tyler Anderson was on the Dodgers before he came to the Angels. I know Patrick Sandoval and Reed Detmers. But one thing is, if I had looked at this before doing research, I think I'd put them higher because Patrick Sandoval and Reed Detmers had done very, very well in the past, but now he's 3-6 with a 6.14 ERA. Not really something you want to see a lot. Right here, we look at the average down here, 20 and 38. So I took the average of the team between these 5 guys with those stats, except win-loss ratio. That's just the total. So I added up wins and losses. That's the total there. So yeah, Angels a bit of a tough time with the pitching, but Tyler Anderson is an all-star. I think if Sandoval and Detmers were their usual selves, I think they'd be a bit higher on this list, or lower, I guess. Number 27 is the Arizona Diamondbacks. We have lots of good talent here, but also some people who do not pitch the same as they usually do. Putting the Diamondbacks this high on my list as number 27 is something that I didn't really expect to do. But when you look at the stats and you look at how people are doing this season, Brandon Pfaadt is probably their best pitcher with a 3.97 ERA, 104 Ks, and a 1.16 WHIP. That is pretty good from Pfaadt, although he does have a losing record. But obviously, I don't want to count win-loss ratio too much because remember, these hitting plays a big part in if you win a game or lose a game. And pitching, you can have a really good pitching game and still get a loss for it. Though usually, if you have a really good pitching outing, I don't think you'd get the loss because you'd probably hold them to lower runs. But anyway, Zach Gallen's on there. He's a great pitcher. We've seen Zach Gallen. He's the best ERA on the team. Second best WHIP on the team. Second to Brandon Pfaadt, actually. Second most strikeouts on the team. Zach Gallen's always been a great pitcher. We know him, one of the better pitchers in the league. Ryan Nelson, I had not known too much about him. And then Ciccone, he's having a tough season. And Montgomery obviously had a very good season with the Rangers when he came to the Rangers and he pitched for them during the postseason. Did very well, but now he's kind of having some trouble. He's got a 6.44 ERA and a 1.68 WHIP. So yeah, a bit of trouble for Montgomery. But I think we look at Merrill Kelly, star pitcher for this team, and he is injured, I believe. So Diamondbacks could be better, but just with the current circumstances, they're not. We see that 5.1 ERA across the board, but I think they have to be higher than the previous teams because they do have some great individual talent. The Miami Marlins, I could not find. I didn't really get the current logo when I used my search tool, so I just did their old logo, which I think is fine. We have Trevor Rogers, Ryan Weathers, Jesus Luzardo, and Rodri Munoz. Not too much to say for the Marlins. I mean, they are 10-26 is a difficult record, but like I say, hitting is a big part of that. The 4.82 ERA definitely puts them ahead of the previous team we just looked at. 1.31 WHIP. That's not too great. Jesus Luzardo, of course, is one of the better pitchers usually, but he has a 5.00 ERA at the moment, which makes things a bit difficult. The best ERA in the team is with Ryan Weathers, who is actually in 1.14 WHIP. He's probably the best pitcher on the team right now. But Luzardo, we know he's doing well. He can do very well at certain points. And also Sandy Alcantara, I don't really know what's happened to him, but he was not. I don't even know if he's pitched at all this season. So Marlins, they have been better in the past, but at the moment, I don't think they can be much. They can't be lower than this. 25 Chicago White Sox. Eric Fetty, Garrett Crochet. I've heard of Michael Soroka. There are certain pitchers on these teams that I have not seen because I know all of the great pitchers, and I do know some pitchers who aren't maybe all-stars, but they're still pretty good. And in this case, I think we got a decent pitching staff. Garrett Crochet is the only guy who really stands out. He's one of the best pitchers, and people have talked about the trade deadline having Garrett Crochet traded to another team, which I could see, but that would also downgrade this pitching by a lot. For now, though, after the first half, he's still on the team, and he had 150 Ks, the most strikeouts in the first half. So he definitely deserves to be an all-star, which he was. 3.02 ERA is another good point. And Eric Fetty with a 2.99 ERA, the best with these guys, a good 7.3 record, 99 strikeouts. Good job for him, 1.13 WHIP. Fetty and Crochet are two great pitchers, and then the rest of them, they're kind of struggling on the win side. For example, Soroka is 0-10 with a 5.25 ERA, so kind of struggling there. I think Fetty and Crochet are two great pitchers. The rest of it needs some help. One all-star here. 4.01 ERA is really good. I think Fetty and Crochet really bring that down. And then we see not a decent WHIP. San Francisco Giants are number 24. Logan Webb, of course, is their all-star. He's probably been their best pitcher in the recent years. For a little while. He's a good pitcher. So I think the Giants, they're in a good spot here. They got Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, Keaton Wynn, Blake Snell. I think Blake Snell's hurt. He hasn't pitched that many games because he has an 0-3 record. Yeah, but tough time when he was pitching, which he might still be pitching, but when he was pitching, a 6.13 ERA, 1.43 WHIP. He struggled this season so far. And Logan Webb, I mean, he 107 strikeouts, 3.47 ERA, 1.24 WHIP. Definitely the best pitcher on the team here. Keaton Winn really puts that ERA higher because he has a 7.16 ERA. That's the thing about average, taking the average of stats, is that one player being a lot higher can always always do something. That can change the team average by a lot. So you have to think about if there's one pitcher in this rotation that doesn't do very well, but the rest of them are pretty solid, then that's okay. So the Giants, they have a higher ERA, but they can't be higher. They cannot be 25, 26 and higher up there. Snell's obviously, Cy Young last year, he's a great pitcher. Logan Webb is a great pitcher. Jordan Hicks is also a good pitcher. Kind of struggling this season. Actually, no, he's not. 3.79 ERA is good, but the WHIP is a little bit higher than he'd probably like at 1.36. But overall, I think we see the San Francisco Giants in a pretty good spot. By the way, when you see like 71 Ks down here, the average pitcher out of these five, the average that one guy has is 71 Ks. I did not do a total. I did not do total over all this. I did strikeouts, like average strikeout of a pitcher. I think ERA and WHIP are the two most important stats to look at, and that's why average goes in pretty well with those. Cleveland Guardians number 23. It's kind of hard to see. It's weird because they have really good talent. Tanner Bybee, super good pitcher for them. Ben Lively has been doing well. So yeah, Lively with a 1.19 WHIP and a 3.59 ERA. Bybee 3.77 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP, very good, and 123 strikeouts for Bybee as well. Allen is doing well. Obviously, we see the winning record 29-24, so good pitching as a whole. The team at ERA is 4.63, which that's closer to 5 runs allowed. Comparing that to the other team is not too good. But the 82 strikeout average for those pitchers, that's pretty good to look at. Carrasco and McKenzie having a bit kind of struggling in this season. And so going to number 22, we have the Washington Nationals. I was actually going to put them higher up on the list, but when I looked at, these are good stats. They have a 3.84 ERA. That's almost one run lower in average ERA than what we just looked at with the Guardians. We see Jake Irvin, he's been doing well. I think Mackenzie, it was not Mackenzie Gore. Who was that person? Okay, Jake Irvin, 1.11 WHIP and a 3.49 ERA. That's good. 2.22 ERA and a 1.08 WHIP for Trevor Williams, who has a 5-0 record. He is doing very, very well in the starts that he's pitched. And then Mitchell Parker and Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore has 116 strikeouts. That's a team leader, I'm pretty sure. But overall, the Washington Nationals are in a solid spot here, number 22. I think they'll probably stay around the same spot throughout the season. We go to number 21, the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals have some great pitchers. We look at Miles Mikolas. He's always one of their better ones. But in terms of this season, Miles Mikolas, I wouldn't say he's doing the best out of everyone on that team. It looks like Sonny Gray, honestly. Sonny Gray he's always pitched well, but he has a 3.34 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP, which is really good to see. Mikolas, 5.13 ERA, so he's struggling a little bit, but in his terms, Kyle Gibson having a good season. Lance Lynn, honestly, Lance Lynn, I saw him with the Dodgers. He kind of struggled a little bit. I think he was on the White Sox and went to the Dodgers. So Lance Lynn, I think he's getting better, which looks good for the Cardinals here. And then Steven Matz, he's struggling in what he's pitched. I think the St. Louis Cardinals are in a pretty good spot here. They have their winning record, as you guys can see, 4.64 ERA. That's a team, 1.35 WHIP. I think it's a good place for them. Then number 20, go to the top 20 here, Tampa Bay Rays. They've got some great pitchers on this team. We got Zach Littell, but better than him, I think we see Zach Eflin and Ryan Pepiot. Those are two great pitchers. We see for the Rays. Savali is a good pitcher, but he's kind of been struggling a little bit with that 5.07 ERA and the 1.38 WHIP. And then Taj Bradley, he's doing well. He's 4-4, 85 Ks, 2.90 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP. So good job by Taj Bradley this season. I think Eflin, Pepio, and Bradley are probably the 3 best pitchers on the team. We see they have a losing record, but of course, hitting is always a big part of that. And the pitching is not always what loses the games and what gives you losses. So I'm not putting the winning teams pitching wise automatically ahead. I have to look at the other stats, and I think with the stats they're showing here, that's a lot better than some of the other teams we've already seen. Number 19, the San Diego Padres, and I have to be honest, looking at the Padres, if I had not taken the research, done research, and taken the stats, they would have been way higher. I mean, you see Dylan Cease, Michael King, Matt Waldron, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove. I know all of those guys to be pretty good pitchers, and some of them are really good pitchers. But, and Cease is having a good year. I mean, 149 Ks. He's second place in that. 1.08 WHIP for him. Michael King, 129 Ks. That 3.41 ERA, 1.23 WHIP is good for him. It's really cool. You see Cease, King, Waldron, and Darvish all have ERAs in the 3s, and then Musgrove has that 5.66 ERA. But I know that Joe Musgrove has also pitched very well before. I think San Diego Padres are definitely ahead of all the teams we've seen before this. They've got a good pitching staff. I think, they lost Seth Lugo, and they lost Seth Lugo, and there was another. Michael Wacha, yeah, those guys, and they're pitching for the Royals, and you'll see where the Royals are on this list. They're definitely higher than the Padres. So Padres, I think in the second half of the season they will be higher because these are great pitchers, and I would expect them to be higher. But overall, I mean, this is a good rotation. The Pittsburgh Pirates. It was kind of hard to put the Pirates ahead of the Padres, but I think when you actually look at it, Mitch Keller and of course Paul Skeens, who started the All-Star game, I think the Pirates have a little bit of a better rotation as a whole. That 3.63 ERA is very good. 1.22 WHIP is good as well. That winning record for them. Yeah, I mean, I think, Jones, Falter, Keller, and Skeens have very good WHIP. Perez is the only guy who's kind of struggling on that team, but other than that, you have a nice rotation here. I think some guys could use development and getting a little bit better on certain things. But Mitch Keller and Paul Skeens certainly seem to be those top 2 guys in the team. Of course, Paul Skeens, All-Star, started the All-Star game. Rookie, he's sensational. You could talk about him for a long time. You could have a whole podcast talking about different things that you see from Paul Skeens. But this is about ranking the team, so I'm not going to go into that. Number 17 is the Detroit Tigers. So the Detroit Tigers, I actually thought they'd be higher on this list after I found the stats for them. They have some great pitchers. Tariq Skubal, one of the best pitchers in the first half. He had 140 strikeouts. He was a 10-3 record, 21 walks, which is good for that strikeout to walk ratio. 2.41 ERA and a .88 WHIP. That's amazing. Tariq Skubal, definitely one of the best pitchers we've seen. Possibly the best in the AL. There's a lot of different pitchers that could take that. Reese Olson, he's doing well. Flaherty also, I mean, that .98 WHIP is very good for him. And then Casey Mize, Casey Mize, the stats are they're par, I'd say. They're pretty average stats for a pitcher, but he's a newer pitch. He hasn't pitched as many games, and when I've seen him pitch, he does pretty well. I think Casey Mize is a good add to this rotation, and Kenta Maeda has proved himself in the past. He has a 7.26 ERA, so that's he's struggling this season. So as for this season, 17 Detroit Tigers, I think that's a good place for him. I really do. We're going to the Milwaukee Brewers. So let's see, the Brewers. You got Colin Ray, Freddie Peralta, Bryce Wilson, Tobias Myers. So I think he's a rookie. I might be wrong about that. The Brewers. Anyway, yeah, Colin Ray is a good pitcher. And Tobias Myers, I told you, I think he's a rookie. He has a 1.13 WHIP and a 3.13 ERA. Overall, just good overall stats. I mean, 28 and 18, 3.93 ERA, the 1.24 WHIP. I think the Brewers are in a good spot. I think this is where they they should be. And Freddie Peralta has obviously proved himself many times. He's a good pitcher. He has that 4.11 ERA, 1.19 WHIP, but 130 strikeouts, and that's very good for him. He also has a winning record, so he's doing things right. The Toronto Blue Jays, for some reason, it did not let me upload the actual Blue Jays logo from the web, so I just did an actual Blue Jay, which I thought that'd be pretty cool. We have Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, Yusei Kikuchi, Kevin Gausman, and Yariel Rodriguez. All of those first 4 pitchers, I don't really know about Rodriguez, but Barrios, Bassett, Kikuchi, and Gausman have proved themselves to be very good pitchers. Gausman, one of the, he's more, very good. Probably maybe their ace. Kikuchi, he's been one of their best pitchers as well. Bassett and Barrios are 2 very good additions to the bullpen there for the Blue Jays. I like where they are. I think this is where they should be. They have a good pitching squad. They have that losing record, but when you look at all these pitchers together, Yariel Rodriguez has 36 Ks. He brought the strikeout average way low. It's 89 Ks, but Barrios with 87, Bassett with 100, Kikuchi with 117, Gausman with 104. That's very good. The Blue Jays could definitely be lower on this list and a better ranking, but you look at Gausman and the ERAs are a bit higher than I'd like them to be to putting them lower, and the WHIP, the best WHIP on the team is Barrios with 1.18. And the other ones are in the ahead of 1.30 or beyond. So I think this is where they should be. Good job overall. Blue Jays have a lot of individual talent, very good pitchers here who I think will be good going into the second half of the season. Go to the Houston Astros.
Yes, they're 14.
Yeah, the 14th. Houston Astros. They have a lot of good pitching. I'm going to be honest. I go to Astros games, and there's a lot of good pitchers on this team. Ronel Blanco definitely surprised people. I don't think people really thought he was going to do this well, but he's arguably their best pitcher with a 2.53 ERA, and he has 95 Ks. Really good job by Blanco. Valdez, I think he's injured right now, but when he pitched, when he was pitching, he was doing well. Valdez is obviously a great pitcher. Christian Javier kind of struggled. He's had an injury, but when he's on, I think he definitely does very well. Hunter Brown, I believe, was a rookie last year, and he's doing well. Like 14, he's doing well. Hunter Brown's he's a great pitcher, and we talked about Blanco. So Verlander, yeah, Justin Verlander. Veteran, but he's still going strong. He's still a good pitcher. Overall, I think we look at this. There's also other pitchers. There's J.P. France. So there's Spencer Arrighetti. Lots of pitchers for the Astros. They have lots of depth. 14th is the right place for them, I think. The New York Mets, 13th. So you've got Luis Severino, who was on the Yankees and is a very, very solid pitcher. You have Jose Quintana and Sean Manaea, who's an older pitcher, I think, but he's a great play. He's been doing very well recently. Jose Budo has had some good starts whenever I see him, and then David Peterson is doing well. It's a 4-0 record. Overall, everything's come together with them. 3.40 ERA, 1.23 WHIP. If the Mets offense, I think the Mets are like kind of a average team. They're kind of right in the middle of the pack, and I think their pitching is really good. If the offense can ramp it up a little bit, I think that this team can do better. But the pitching's doing their job. 24-15, they're getting wins. They've got a nice. They have, if you round it, that's about 3 runs allowed per game. The strikeouts are definitely lower, but the ERA is great, and that's what you want to see. As long as you're getting outs, that's what you want to see. Texas Rangers, number 12. I think this is a good place for them. The Texas Rangers, they could possibly be higher. Now this is my list. It's my list with a foundation of stats and then my personal knowledge of the team and the pitchers. Andrew Heaney, he's kind of 3.79 ERA, a little bit difficult there, but 9.2 Ks per 9. That's pretty good right there. 3-10 though. Again, they have a losing record, but their offense, I'm pretty sure this year they're kind of struggling. Eovaldi, great pitcher. He's always a great pitcher. Lorenzen, He's done well. John Gray is a good pitcher, pretty solid for them. And Jose Urena with a 3.13 ERA. I mean, team whip of 1.21, a 3.48 ERA. I think Texas Rangers deserve to be higher than the previous teams we looked at, and I think I don't want to put them any lower because the records are very difficult for them, and overall, I just think the teams we're going to see are going to be progressively better. 11th, barely missed out on the top 10, but the Boston Red Sox. They've got some great pitchers, but I think Tanner Houck and Nick Pivetta are those three really good pitchers, and then it just kind of starts to, looking for a new piece to the bullpen. Red Sox are actually on the up and up, and their offense is doing very well. Houck was an all-star, 112 Ks, 2.54 ERA, and a 1.03 whip. Very, very, very good for him. Cutter Crawford actually had a great ERA and whip as well. Bello, good record, not the best ERA and whip. Nick Pivetta, I'd say whip's very good. ERA's 4.18, and then Criswell, a bit of your average pitcher. Boston Red Sox bring everything to the table. Houck and Crawford having very good seasons. Pivetta and Criswell having solid seasons. And let's see, Bello, yeah, he's winning games. He's doing what he needs to do. They're 31-28. We see the 3.82 ERA and 1.19 whip. Good job for the Red Sox. I think this is where they need to be. Now we get into the top 10 teams. Cincinnati Reds are number 10. They have a great, look at this. Look at these 5 pitchers. Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Frankie Montas, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft. Those are 5 pitchers, 4 of which are definitely above average. And then Ashcraft, who I think is usually above average. This season just doing a little bit not as well. But yeah, we see the winning record. It's the Reds. They're 32-25 with these pitchers. That's very good. The 3.94 ERA, that's good as well. 1.25 WHIP. The ERA and WHIP are a little bit higher, but we look at these individual people, and Green, he's had 126 Ks, a 3.34 ERA, and a 1.11 WHIP. Abbott, he's been pitching very well. Montes, probably average there. Frankie Montas, I said those 4. I'd say Green, Abbott, and Lodolo are probably the 3 really good pitchers. Nick Lodolo, he's doing very well. 1.12 WHIP and a 3.33 ERA. And then Ashcraft struggling a little bit, but he's 5-5. So in terms of what he needs to get done, he's doing a pretty good job of it. And then 9, the Chicago Cubs. Look at this list again. Shota Imanaga, all-star. Jameson Taillon, Justin Steele, Javier Assad, Kyle Hendricks. This is something really cool, and I think, Imanaga doing very well. Taillon, that 1.16 WHIP. And then Steele with a 2.71 ERA, very good. 0.95 WHIP. That's very good for him. He's always one of the better pitchers. And then you have Javier Assad having good pitching year as well. And then Kyle Hendricks, kind of that 6.78 ERA. This would be a very low ERA compared to what we've seen, but Kyle Hendricks, who I know is a good who has pitched well in the past, kind of brings it up a little bit. But the Chicago Cubs definitely are in this position. Imanaga, Taillon, and Steele, very, very good, and Assad's been pitching well as well. You got to have the Cubs where they are. Number 8, the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles, this is a team with so much talent across the board. And when you look at these guys, Corbin Burnes is one of the best pitchers in the entire league. Yeah. I'd say between him and Tariq Skubal, that's who you're looking at for best in the AL. But Corbin Burnes is a very, very good pitcher in that aspect. Grayson Rodriguez was a rookie last year, and he's doing very well now. 11-4 record, a 3.88 ERA, and a 1.24 WHIP. Burnes, by the way, with a 1.04 WHIP and a 2.43 ERA. Cole Irvin, he, kind of, I guess, struggling just a little bit. Albert Suarez doing well, and then Dean Kremer, always a solid piece of the bullpen to the rotation. And then I have all this without even mentioning Kyle Bradish because I think he's hurt, and Kyle Bradish is a very good pitcher, and so the Baltimore Orioles are in a great spot. Number 8, we have the Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins.
Okay, so yeah, looking at the Minnesota Twins, I mean, lots of great talent here. Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober. So I think what we got to see here, Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober are having two very good seasons. I mean, whenever they pitch, it just looks really good. Lopez with his ERA, Lopez with his ERA is 5.11, but he has that 1.18 WHIP, which is good. But yeah, Joe Ryan, 1.00 WHIP. Ober, 1.08 WHIP. Those are two very good ones. Cole Sands, a .98 WHIP. The WHIP is very good. Look at this, 1.13 average WHIP for this team, 4.30 ERA, which is not as good. But the WHIP is the big thing, and I think also you see they still have that winning record, 95K average. That's big. That's really big. You got to see the Twins they are a great team pitching wise. The number 6 is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, they have some astounding pitchers. Whenever you see these guys, I mean, this list doesn't even have Clayton Kershaw or Shohei Ohtani in it because neither of them can pitch at the moment. Tyler Glasnow, 3.47 ERA and a .93 WHIP, 143 strikeouts. That's amazing. Gavin Stone, we see him fourth there. He's 9-3. He's got a 3.26 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. That's very good for him. James Paxton. Whenever I see James Paxton pitch, he does really well. He's had lots of quality starts that I've seen. 7-2, 4.38 ERA and a 1.45 WHIP. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I mean, acquired from Japan, dominated in Japan, comes to the USA, has a little bit of struggle at first, especially over in the Seoul series, but he's 6-2, 2.92 ERA and a 1.07 WHIP, although I do think he's injured, but he really turned things around after that. Pitched very well. And Landon Knack. So I have Landon Knack up here. There's a lot of guys. Michael Grove. He does not start anymore. He's more of a relieving pitcher now. There's a lot of guys who have, I think, kind of come in and out. And Landon Knack is that person at this moment. He's a 1.05 WHIP with a 3.23 ERA. He's a very solid pitcher, I think. He has a 1-2 record. And in his starts, he's had 36 Ks and 10 walks. I think he hasn't pitched many times because there's the fifth guy of this rotation where Landon Knack is. There's just a lot of different people that could fill that. But Landon Knack is doing his job very, very well. 3.45 team ERA and 1.15 WHIP. They definitely deserve to be here. And now we go on to the top 5 best rotations in the league after the first half. Number 5, the Atlanta Braves. They have such good pitching. They definitely deserve to be 5th on the list. Chris Sale, who has had a career riddled with injuries and everything like that, has been pitching absolutely, just dominantly. Super good pitcher there. He was not able to play in the All-Star game because of an injury, but because he got injured, he had a replacement for him. I think actually was he injured? I'm not sure about that, but he could not pitch the All-Star game because he got because he had someone to replace him. So he pitched very well in this first half, and we also here we go. Yeah, he was 13-3 with a 2.70 ERA and a .95 WHIP. Very good. Max Fried, he's an all-star. Always one of the best pitchers. 3.08 ERA and 1.16 WHIP, 95 Ks. That's great. Sale is 140 Ks. Charlie Morton, he's pitched for a while. He's been in the league for a while, but he's still pitching very well with 97 Ks, a 4.07 ERA, and a 1.22 WHIP. We have Reynaldo Lopez, who is an all-star. this guy has a 1.88 ERA, very good ERA, a 1.17 WHIP, 95 Ks, 34 walks. I mean, Reynaldo Lopez is one of the best pitchers as well, with ERA wise. And we also see now Spencer Strider. I don't know what happened. I think he might be injured. He pitched a few starts, but he hasn't pitched as many as Schwellenbach. Schwellenbach, 4.43 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP. But if Spencer Strider, who we know is one of the best pitchers in the league when he is healthy, this Atlanta Braves team could be even higher than that. But with their current thing, I mean, that 3.23 team ERA, 1.13 WHIP, very good. Of course, a great team all around. They're number 5. Number 4, the New York Yankees. Yankees have that 3.50 ERA and the 1.19 WHIP for the team. But what I want to look at is these 5 pitchers right here. Okay? The 5 that I've seen, the 5 that I've chosen, Nestor Cortes and Carlos Rodon, both very good pitchers who haven't probably had their best season. But the second after I took the stats for this team, I knew they were going to be high. I mean, Cortes, 3.67 ERA and 1.12 WHIP. Very good. Rodon, 4.63 ERA and a 1.28 WHIP. Not as good, but not too bad. 110 Ks for Cortes and 112 for Rodon. Marcus Stroman, who I know he was on the Cubs previously, pitched very well, and I've seen him pitch very well. 3.51 ERA. I've seen him video feed. We see Luis Heel, who had one of the best first halves. I mean, Luis Heel, 10-5, 118 Ks, 3.17 ERA, and a 1.08 WHIP. He's had an amazing season. And Clark Schmidt, whenever I see him, he's a great pitcher. He's pitched multiple times for them. Very good pitcher. 2.52 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP. There is so much talent on this New York Yankees rotation, and that's not even including Garrett Cole, who recently came back from injury and kind of struggled a little bit. But we know Garrett Cole. I mean, one of the best pitchers in this generation, I think. So, the Yankees, a great spot. Top 3 now. Number 3, the Kansas City Royals. I told you the Royals were going to be farther down the list. Seth Lugo, Cole Ragans. Those are 2 All-Stars. Michael Wacha has also pitched very well. Brady Singer. So, let's just go through. Anyway, Lugo, 116 Ks, 2.48 ERA, and a 1.09 WHIP. Cole Ragans, 141 Ks, 3.16 ERA, and a 1.14 WHIP. Singer, 2.93 ERA, and 1.17 WHIP. That's amazing as well. Alec Marsh is the only guy on the team who hasn't had the best first half. Well, okay, he's 7-6, 83 Ks, 4.57 ERA, and a 1.22 WHIP. So it's not bad. It's just not as good as these other guys when you compare them. And then Michael Wacha, he has a 3.83 ERA and a 1.24 WHIP, 78 Ks. But Michael Wacha, I've seen him pitch when he pitched for the Padres. I mean, he's super dominant. And the biggest thing we see from this Royals team is that their average is 103 strikeouts. The average of these 5 pitchers, when you average all the strikeout totals together, is 103 strikeouts. A 3.39 team ERA and a 1.17 WHIP. They definitely deserve to be here. What a team the Royals have turned into. That's all I gotta say. Number 2, the Philadelphia Phillies. That should not be a big surprise. Probably the best team in the league right now. Have the second best rotation. I mean, the Phillies are just so good all around. And look at this, 3 All-Stars. That's not even Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is not an All-Star. And we know how good Aaron Nola is. I mean, Nola was 11-4 with 116 Ks, 3.38 ERA, and a 1.03 WHIP. I bet he was selected. Was he not an All-Star? I feel like he should have been. Maybe he got replaced for some reason. Zach Wheeler, probably their best pitcher. 2.70 ERA, a 0.99 WHIP, 126 Ks. He leads the team in WHIP, ERA, and strikeouts. Very good. Ranger Suarez, I mean, super dominant, great pitcher. 2.76 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP. Christopher Sanchez was the replacement for Chris Sale, and I think that's a good replacement. 2.96 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. He's not as good as Sale, but he's a very good pitcher, to say the least. And Taijuan Walker, 5.60 ERA and a 1.49 WHIP. You know, if his ERA, and that's what I talked about with averages, his ERA, strikeouts, and his WHIP bring things up. The team WHIP is still 1.16. That ERA is still 3.48. 97 strikeout average, 26 walk average, 41 and 19. The Philadelphia Phillies, such a good team all around and a great pitching team as well. And now we get on to number one, the best rotation. One of the worst hitting teams is Caden, one of the other people in this group, the big three. He was going through batting stats yesterday for a video on batting, and he said, this was one of the worst offensive teams, but they are the best pitching team, definitely, the Seattle Mariners. And now the weird thing is they have one All-Star in Logan Gilbert. And I gotta check things, but when I looked on the MLB website for the All-Stars, I saw Logan Gilbert, but Chris Sale was also on there. So that may not have been an updated thing. It's definitely true, though, that this is the best team, and let me tell you why. I mean, first of all, just look at the list. I mean, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, and Bryce Miller and Brian Wu, those are all four dominant pitchers. Every single person in that rotation is a star pitcher with some very good stuff. Gilbert, 115 strikeouts, 2.94 ERA, 1.90 WHIP. Luis Castillo, 116 strikeouts, 3.53 ERA, and a 1.17 WHIP. George Kirby with 109 strikeouts, a 3.39 ERA, and a 1.00 WHIP. It's incredible. Bryce Miller, he had a 3.63 ERA, 1.06 WHIP, 98 strikeouts. And then Brian Wu, 2.45 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP. I think his season got a little bit cut short because it says he has like 29 strikeouts and he's only 3-1. But they were talking about when I did see Brian Wu pitching, he was like one of the most dominant pitchers when he was doing it. Gilbert, Kirby, Castillo, Miller, Wu. Those five, out of these stats down here, 31 and 28, but that's a lot of batting too. 21 walk average, 93 strikeout average, 3.19 ERA, and a 1.00 WHIP. That WHIP is the best thing we see here. A 1 even WHIP for the Seattle Mariners. Definitely the best rotation we've seen. I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked the list. If you have any changes or anything you disagree with or agree with, I'd like to hear that in the comments. And thank you. This is the first video on the channel, and I hope it was a well put together one. Thank you all for watching.